Hi, I'm Kat Zimmerman, a member of the Patent AEDY team. In this short series, we're reviewing how to use the Leader Services Student Referral System. In this video, we'll talk through how to create and submit a student referral. That means this video is for sending LEAs, including in-house programs which refer to themselves. To get started, navigate to leaderservices.com/AEDY and log in using your username and password. From your dashboard, select Referrals created by your LEA. Then, to begin the new referral, click Start a new student referral. Enter the student's PA Secure ID in the box and click Begin Referral Process. This will pull the student's information from the PIMS system. If the student is not currently in PIMS for whatever reason, you will have the option to manually add the student's data. On the demographics page, there's some information that needs to be added. On the top right, enter the parent or guardian's name, address, phone number, and email, if available. Below, use the radio buttons to select if the student has ever been identified as habitually truant. If the answer is yes, be sure to use the text box to the right to give the date of the truancy elimination plan or student attendance improvement plan. If this is the case, remember to also send a copy of this plan to the AEDY program. Next, use the yes/no radio buttons to answer the question. If the student is designated as a special education student, was the student first identified as a special education student during the AEDY intake process? Below, you can click Add Scores to add PSSA and/or Keystone scores if they are available. Finally, at the bottom, use the yes/no buttons to answer the question, is the referral the result of an expulsion? If the student has been expelled, use the text box to enter the date which ends the expulsion. If the student has not been expelled, click No and do not enter anything in the text box. If the student has been identified as an English learner, additional English learner information will be required on this page. If the student is listed as a current ELL student, you'll see the following boxes. First, select the student's EL teacher using the drop-down menu. This list is generated from the applications of your LEA as well as the AEDY program listed on your program site page. Next, use the File Upload tool to choose and upload the student's Individualized English Learner Plan ELILLP. You can download a template ELILLP and learn more about these requirements on the ELILLP page on our website. If the student is a current or former English learner, you will need to complete the Additional English Learner Information box. First, enter the student's native language in the text box at the top. Next, use the drop-down boxes and the text boxes to enter the student's proficiency level and score on the Commonwealth English Language Proficiency Assessment for each of the assessed areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Provide the date of the most recent assessment below this information. Next, use the text box marked Nature and Amount of English Learner Services Provided to describe the student's existing individualized English learner services. Finally, use the radio buttons marked Student's Parents is LEP, Yes or No, to indicate if the student's parents or guardians have limited English proficiency, LEP. If yes, use the text box to identify the language which will be needed for interpreting and/or translating. Remember when you're finished with the demographics page to click Save and go to Next section. On the criteria page, identify which behavior or behaviors the student has exhibited to a marked degree, resulting in the referral to AEDY placement by using the drop-down menu to the left of the criteria. These criteria listed are the only criteria which may result in an AEDY placement. If the student has exhibited multiple behaviors, rank the primary, secondary criteria using the drop-down menus. If criteria 3 applies, mark whether the reason for referral is a serious bodily injury using the radio buttons included just below the criteria description. For example, A student who has a history of violation of school policy and rules, but is ultimately being sent to AEDY due to a drug policy violation for which the student has been expelled, should be ranked number 1 for criteria 2, the display or use of controlled substances on school property or during school affiliated activities, and number 2 for criteria 6, misconduct that would merit suspension or expulsion under school policy, as well as number 3 for criteria 1, the disregard for school authority, including persistent violation of school policies and rules. When finished with this section, click Save and go to Next Section at the bottom of the page. The Behaviors and Interventions page requires entry of all of the students' behaviors, along with the interventions and disciplinary actions that were taken as a result of the behaviors. Each behavior incident should be entered separately, along with all of the interventions that resulted from the behavior. To begin, click Add New Disruptive Behavior. From this page, complete each of the fields to add the disruptive behavior. First, enter the date of the behavior, not the date of entry or intervention, and a description of what the behavior was. Enter one behavior incident at a time. In the boxes below the description, include any dates of in-school and out-of-school suspensions as a result of this behavior. Next, use the boxes to enter any administrative interventions from this behavior, including reflection documents, apologies, behavior contracts, conflict agreements, any dates that teachers were involved in meetings, mentorships, or conferences, if there was a child study team meeting, or any other administrative intervention. In the counseling section, use the radio buttons to click yes or no if SAP was offered to the parent, and then yes or no if the SAP referral was accepted. Provide the date that the parent was contacted. If there was a student-created action plan, click yes, otherwise click no. Below, use the text box to provide any of the interventions that were implemented by the counselor as a result of this behavior. Check in, check out, schedule modification, conflict resolution strategies, mentoring, peer mediation, individual counseling, group counseling, and family counseling. If this behavior is one in a long laundry list of behaviors and interventions, you can use the Behavior and Interventions Upload tool at the bottom of the screen to choose and then upload a file which details the list of student behaviors and interventions. This is most appropriate for students being referred for criteria 1, persistent disruptive behavior. When finished with this page, click Save Behavior. From the Behavior List page, you can review all interventions and disciplinary actions for each behavior that has been entered. Remember to list each behavior incident separately and include all interventions and disciplinary actions that resulted from the incident. List additional behaviors by clicking Add New Disruptive Behavior just above the table and repeating the steps. When all behaviors have been entered with their interventions, click the Go to Next Section button below the behavior table. On the verification page, enter the information needed to verify the informal hearing. First, enter the date and time where the informal hearing took place. Next, enter the date and time that the parent was contacted to attend. If these dates and times are the same, be sure to check the box showing that the hearing was held at the same time as the notification because of the parent or guardian's request. Next, use the radio buttons to include the location of the informal hearing, either the LEA, the student's residence, or other. For example, a Zoom meeting. Below, include the result of the informal hearing by using the drop-down box to select a location where the AEDY program is. Finally, upload the informal hearing signature using the program Upload tool. Choose the file and then upload. Importantly, the only document which should ever be uploaded on this page, including during a monitoring, is the informal hearing signature page, which shows the signatures of the student, the parent, the administrator, and anyone else present at the informal hearing. If someone refused to sign, simply document this by saying, "Refused to sign." If this was a virtual meeting, such as a Zoom meeting, include the person's name and say, "Attended via Zoom" or "Attended via phone." When finished, click Save and go to Next Section at the bottom of the page. The manifestation page is required for any student with a disability. This includes students with IEPs, 504s, and those who are thought to be. To complete this page, check the box to affirm that the manifestation determination was conducted, and then enter today's date in the text box. Next, check the box to affirm that the special education supervisor has viewed and approved the manifestation determination, along with today's date. Importantly, note that no special education documents are uploaded as part of the student referral at any time, including when the AEDY program is being monitored. During monitoring, the AEDY program is responsible for uploading these documents, but it belongs in a different part of the system. When finished, click Save and go to Next Section at the bottom of the page. After clicking Save and go to Next Section, you'll end up on the placement page. This page is going to be completed by the AEDY program, and sending LEAs are not responsible for this piece. Instead, use the Navigation tab on the left to go back to the Demographics page. From here, you'll see a new button, highlighted in yellow, appear at the bottom of the navigation panel on the left. Submit Student Referral to AEDY Provider. Click on this button. From this page, you must first run a validation. Click the Validate button to see if anything is missing from the referral. If anything is missing, it will show up along with a quick link for you to complete this part of the referral. Go through this list and then return to this page. Once everything has been adjusted, click the Validate button again and you should see a green check mark. From here, click Go to Referral Submission page. From this page, you have the option to include any additional email addresses who should get a notification that this referral was sent to the AEDY program. You can also check and uncheck the AEDY contact emails from this list. At least one email address must be checked or entered in order for the process to continue. When you're ready, click Submit Referral to AEDY Provider. This will change the referral status from in process to transitioning to AEDY Provider, which is a change that you'll see on the left of the page under Referral Status. At this point, you can click here to return home, as your portion is completed until the student's referral is returned to you. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, you can access this video and our website, aedy.patent.net, at any time. If you have questions about student referrals or AEDY in general, feel free to reach out to your AEDY point of contact. If you're not sure who your point of contact is, you can send an email to aedy@patent.net.